Thank you, Daniel, for being available for us. This new education deal campaign is an important initiative for us. Although currently most of the world is still struggling with the actual issues with the COVID-19 epidemic or pandemic, we wanted to start something forward-looking and future-oriented. And you could see that we have put down some experiences of the current situation that we think we can carry forward for the future. And I would like to hear your point of view as director of an organization representing school employers. So you are a very different stakeholder representative than us parents.
I wouldn't agree with this. My personal view on education is that really parents are the initial and the most important educators of all the children, and schools and teachers are there to support them. So that is at least my personal view, and this is something I am trying to implement at home as well. So for me, teachers and schools and systems are always there in place in order to support the parents, in order to help them to raise the children the way they wish. And obviously I'm very happy to share my experience and also the knowledge, because we've managed to, because of this crisis, we've been collecting all kinds of information from different countries as well, how different systems have been reacting to the pandemic, what were the different models, and also what are the lessons learned, because obviously because of this situation, the way schools are being organized, we all obviously have a lot of potential as well to see for let's say better ways in order to facilitate learning. So this is obviously a very extraordinary times, but at the same time this is an opportunity for us to see how can we really reorganize, and how can we make schools safer, how can we also reorganize the learning, what is the purpose of a teacher, what is the role of a teacher, etc. So this is an exciting time, and times of change as well.
From an employer's point of view, there are some issues we raise that can be changed as a decision by the employer or by the school leader. Sometimes it's the same person. And there are things that really need a little bit of systemic change. Did you find anything in this list of issues that we put together that you think are the most important to consider or to discuss with school employers and school leaders probably?
Yes, I think the most important. Well, there's lots of things. So it's just to name a few. I think it's very important to see what is the question number one that really appears to my head is, what is the role of a teacher, and how can we really make use of a great potential of great people that really go into this profession, in order for them to also to one, feel satisfied with the jobs, but also in order to make sure that they that the learning process, especially in the time of this pandemic, is not being interrupted. So obviously in different countries, different systems and different places are being put in place. Some countries, Belgium including, for example, I have a personal experience with Belgium because my children go to Belgian schools. Because of that reason, obviously schools introduce a certain way of dealing with this. So there are virtual classes, there are meetings. Some schools are open for a day or so. So we see that this role of a teacher is evolving, and this is something that has already been in the different research studies on this. I remember a study on OECD in 2016, before we even started thinking about this pandemic, that the role of a teacher has to change, and has to change from a sort of a person who is, let's say, passing on knowledge into a facilitator of learning. And I think that this pandemic really shows how important the teachers are, but also that shows that the way we used to teach, so focusing really on passing on different subjects of learning, of knowledge, needs to change, because in the time of such a huge transformation, there is a great deal of skills that we need and the children will need in the future. That simple coverage of basic subjects is not enough, and that the way we've been teaching is also, I would say, maybe not obsolete, but certainly needs to be reconsidered. And I think that this pandemic really is a great opportunity for us to reconsider all this, because now we have let's say, a political momentum in which we can really rediscuss these things, because it's about keeping teachers and students safe. It's about making sure that the profession of the teacher is attractive. So it is also important that if we use more digital tools to support teachers in learning, the teachers have to feel comfortable with it. But on the same time, digitalization and let's say introduction to modern tools of teaching into a school can be an interesting factor that contributes to the attractiveness of the profession for the younger teachers. So it will be something that would attract younger generations to go into this profession. So obviously we see all these aspects, and obviously our members in the national setting and us on the European level, we try to collect all this in order to make sure that we can later on exchange, because this will be, I think next 2 years will be a very good, very interesting time to for all kinds of projects to see how the school systems have managed to deal with this, and what were the different ways, and what are the messages that we can take and even maybe standardize in the, let's say, standard way of learning. So is there any benefit out of this that we can later on use whenever this pandemic is over?
Well, this is a parent initiative. Right. And parent initiatives are not always very much welcomed by ministries, even teacher organizations. Can you give us some advice on how to approach this on a national level? Because, well, it's relatively easy to organize a global campaign. We have found lots of experts, academics, researchers, policymakers who are happy to support our messages, but to make it a reality, we have to reach the national level.
I think this really depends. In certain countries, parents' associations are very strong, and indeed, I think that there is a very strong connection between parents' associations and their involvement in the policy making on education. But it really depends and varies on the basis of countries, and it varies from country to country. At the international level, I think that there is lots of things to do on this. And that's why I'm very happy that you have the organization that you have, because a strong connection between parents and let's say education providers. Because you see, when I say that I work for education employers, nobody really understands who am I working for. So it's always for me it's always easier to explain that my members' organizations are formal education providers, and that's so we are those that are responsible for the organization of formal education from pre-primary level to higher education level, and I think that I totally agree that this link isn't very strong, and in many countries it could be better. And from my side, I am very open to work with the parents. This is because, again, it is my strong belief that the parents are really the most important people in the education of their children, and it's not the schools, because the schools, we can put the best systems of schools in a country or in a place, because depending how they organize, but we can have the best schools, but without the presence of parents, education of children cannot really be successful. And really, it is, in my view at least, it is the parents who decide how, when, where, in what way, on basis of what values the children should receive education. And that's, us as formal education providers, what we need to do is to ask the parents, what do you want for your children? And then obviously provide you with what you need in order to help you raise your children the way you wish. And that really is crucial. That's why I am very much open for any dialogue on this. And I really hope that that we can establish that.
Well, thank you. I think that was a very, very nice closing note. Although I would like to say that we do need the professionalism and very often the guidance from the professionals to actually know what's best for our children or for ourselves. So we are really happy to continue this dialogue, and let's hope that we can make this deal a new reality. Thank you very much, Daniel.
Thank you very much. Happy to contribute.